You sure he's not a rock lord? He looks like one. If nothing else, he looks better than those rock monsters that they wanted to use in the one Star Trek film. That doesn't take much, though. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we are starting our look at the Legacy United figures, since, strangely enough, I finally was able to find some in my local stores. I would have actually started showing these guys off to you last month during April, but unfortunately at the time that I would have been filming April's Transformers, I had a member of the family undergo surgery, and during their recovery time, I wound up getting sick and ended up missing my window to film. So it was kind of, I think, cruel fate was going against me. But at any rate, we are back in business, and here we're going to take a look at our first Legacy United figure, Bouldercrash. Bouldercrash hails from the Infernac universe. So he's a bit of an oddball character, because in Japan, he's also referred to as an armorizer. And the armorizers get their inspiration from the 1987 anime Transformers: The Headmasters, where they first appeared in an episode that brought Six-Shot into the Transformer lore. So, quite an interesting thing, although some of the designers have confirmed, like Larry assumed, that the Infernac universe characters are also inspired by the GoBot subline, the Rock Lords. The Rock Lords were an attempt by Tonka to continue the GoBot line, but they were also just as simple to transform into rocks as many of the small GoBots were, and it kind of came off as too little too late. It also didn't help that the GoBots movie that was brought out the same year as the Transformers movie also really didn't fare as well at the box office. Because while we really don't have an idea of the figures for how much money they got Hanna-Barbera to invest into making the GoBot Rocklord movie, it only brought home about $1 million. Whereas the Transformers movie barely managed to accomplish $5 million at the box office. But also, longtime fans of Hasbro's toys, especially those from the 1980s, will recognize the Infernac name as the dimension that Metlar came from the Inhumanoids series. So it's a nice throwback to another classic series from Hasbro. Unfortunately, Hasbro has lost a lot of the trademarks and ownership to many of the things for the Inhumanoids. So unfortunately, it does not look like the Inhumanoids will be coming back. Of course, one last little bit of trivia, if many people remember, there were a lot of subtle clues in many of those 1980s Hasbro-produced cartoons that suggested that many of them took place in the same universe. One key piece being the appearance of Geraldo Rivera's spoof, Hector Ramirez, appearing in Transformers, G.I. Joe, Inhumanoids, and Gem, which suggests that all four take place in the same universe, despite the fact that only G.I. Joe and the Transformers ever met up in the comic books. Might be interesting to see if any of the others could get together as well. Oh well, time will tell. Hey, don't laugh at the notion of it, folks. I mean, they did. Modern Comics recently did a crossover of Transformers and My Little Pony. And the new games from Renegade Game Studios does allow for the role-playing game and the card games to be worked together. So, is it that much of a stretch? I don't think so. At any rate, Bouldercrash here, he's a new character, so we really don't know a whole lot about him, or which faction he would support. Just one of the downsides about there not being any related media being put out with these toys. You know, not even a tech spec file. Because unlike many of the previous Legacy toys, the box here does not have the little QRL code area for you to scan with your smartphones and possibly get new information about them. They don't do that. They're not doing that anymore. And since they won't put tech spec files on them anymore, we kind of lose out on learning more about this character. And for new ones like him, I really wish we could get that. At any rate, we'll take a look here at his one lone accessory, and that is his sword. Of course, like many of these small guys, his weapon can be integrated into his alternate mode, because it will form the windscreen of it. And the blade can be moved, like so. That's more for when it's being transformed. Otherwise, you just keep it like this, and kind of comes off more like the wrist blades that the Predator creatures use, except considerably longer. You know, kind of think like the embarrassment Deadpool from that one Wolverine movie, where he had the swords come out of his arms. Think something like that. At any rate, with that out of the way, let's take a look at Bouldercrash's articulation. And he has about what you would expect from a core class figure. His head can be turned from side to side, and it is on a ball joint, so it will at least look down a bit. It doesn't look up too much. You can raise his arms out to the side about so far, and they do rotate at the shoulder all the way. He can bend his arm at the elbow just slightly above 90 degrees. And since his elbow is on a ball joint, it does swivel. So he has G.I. Joe battle grip. His legs do twist a bit at the hips. They can be twisted all the way around for transforming him, but you'll have to be aware that this bar does get in the way a bit. You can spread his legs apart this far, so he can't do a full splits. You can raise his leg up at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend him at the knee 90 degrees. So, he also has slightly reduced articulation. Okay, to transform Bouldercrash, it's a relatively simple matter. Famous last words, I know, but we start here by getting this little piece at the top of his chest, and we're going to fold that up as far as it will go. It doesn't really touch his face. You'll come back here behind his head, and you're going to fold up this front wheel all the way down. You'll come down here to his arms. The shoulders are on a hinge piece, so you will just pop them free and fold them out just to the side, like so, just to get them out of the way. Then you'll come up here to his head, and you're going to rotate the head section all the way around, so it puts the wheel now facing you instead of his face. Then we come down here to his hip, and we're going to rotate the hip all the way around. Take a little maneuvering to get the one leg past that bar, but it's really not that difficult if you're careful. And don't rush it. Alright, so once you got it like that, we'll turn him around. Then you're going to bend the legs up at the knee, because this tab that's protruding out the side of his leg is going to line up with a hole here in the bar. So bring it up and connect it in. If you need to, move the arms a bit so they're out of your way. So we get those in. Then, of course, once those are in, you will finish moving his arms at the shoulder. Bend them at the elbow a bit so they'll come up easier. You'll notice here on his forearms there's an empty hole here. Well, those will line up with these protrusions right here on the bar. So get the shoulder in position and then bring the arm down and put it in place. Just exactly like that. Then, of course, you'll pick up his weapon. Fold the blade upwards like so. And then you will attach it. You see there's a couple of holes here on the sides of it. Well, those should line up with these two bars here at the front of his alternate mode. And then there you have it. He is in his alternate mode of a rock trike, because that's basically the best way to describe this vehicle, folks. It's a trike, and it looks like it's made of rocks. How well does he roll on those little wee wheels? Actually, he rolls pretty good if you get it all lined up properly. Now, of course, just like what we've had in previous lines, the strange guys like this do become weapons for the bigger Transformers. While you've got him in his trike mode, return the blade like that, and now he is a weird-looking sword. We'll see how he looks here, as we still have Bombshell out from last week's review, so we will plug him into Bombshell's hand. Gotta adjust Bombshell a bit for balance. And there we are. Looks a little bit overgrown for Bombshell, but it does work, and if you do position him right, he can stand there with it, because he is not touching the wall. See, that was my hand that knocked him down. So now we get to my thoughts. What do I think of Bouldercrash? Well, I do like the references that Bouldercrash implies, not only to the Inhumanoids, but also alluding to being a Rock Lord. Because while the Rock Lord idea really didn't catch on back then at the time, it did have some potential. Probably if Tonka put in a little more effort to develop the characters before giving them to Hanna-Barbera. Sort of similar to how they were with the GoBots. As a toy, the toy's alright. I mean, the figure's pretty much a walking rock. The alt mode of the trike, I'm not quite sold on, but I think I could eventually grow to like it. I'm going to have to wait and see what some of his fellow Infernac universe guys are going to look like, and how they'll fit with the other Transformers before I'll fully decide if I like this guy or not. But all in all, it is an interesting attempt, and I'm willing to give Hasbro a try on this, to see how it turns out. Hopefully they won't disappoint me, but then again, they probably already have. At any rate, that's my review of the Legacy United version of Bouldercrash. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please do remember that if you love the content we feature on this channel, I would enjoy a like, a share, and a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.